All right, we'll get started. So welcome everyone who's joined us so far, and hopefully a few more might trickle in. So just welcome to the PIOT, or the Program for Internationally Educated Occupational Therapists info session. So I might just start off first with a bit of a land acknowledgement. So those of you who are maybe new to Canada or maybe even joining us from outside Canada, I'd like to give you just a little bit of quick context as the purpose of a land acknowledgement. So it's a respectful statement that recognises the Indigenous peoples who are connected to the lands we're joining from today and acknowledges the history of colonisation related to those places, even though we are meeting online. But it just recognises the relationships between land and people, particularly Indigenous peoples, and their continued presence on the land in Canada. So I would like to acknowledge that the land on which I'm based I'm presenting from is the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, Stalo, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. So in this image, you can see on screen, it's a reconciliation pole, and it is located here in UBC on the Point Grey campus in Vancouver. And it's just a symbol to recognise the complex history of the Indian residential schools, and it's to reflect UBC's commitment to provide continued education and awareness about the history of the Indigenous peoples and the steps we must take to move forward together. So whether you are from Canada or not, I invite everyone here today to spend a little bit of time learning more about the Indigenous peoples and their history in Canada, as it's just very important to learn about this history, particularly when you are working or planning to work in the healthcare system in Canada. So this is just a quick outline of our session today. So obviously we started with our land acknowledgement. We'll just do a quick round of introductions. Then we'll go into an overview of the programme, and then give you a quick summary of the content in which we teach in the programme. Then we'll give you an update on our so far success rates, and then give you a bit of information if you're interested in applying or know someone who would be interested in applying, how they can apply and register for the programme. And then we'll end with just a question and answer session. So hopefully it shouldn't take too much of your time. So thank you very much for everyone joining us. So we'll just start off with some quick introductions. So I am Felicity. So as you can see my picture here. So I am also an internationally educated occupational therapist. I came from Ireland and moved over to Canada and went through the CEES process and registered as an OT here in Canada. And I've been practicing for a number of years as an OT here. And I just understand, obviously, the process of how things go through with the CEES, and getting set up in Canada can be very stressful. So I understand what people go through. So I'm one of the program facilitators, and I also manage the program along with our wonderful PIOT team. So yeah, I'll just hand it over to Michael now.
Thank you, Felicity, and it's wonderful meeting with many of you. Some of you are kind of acquaintance or friends that we met before, and some of you are new faces to me. So in any event, welcome to this particular information session. My name is Michael Lee. I'm a professor of teaching with the Department of Occupational Science and Occupational Therapy with the University of British Columbia. Like many of you in here, I'm also an IEOT. I was educated and trained in Hong Kong, and I practiced in Hong Kong for the first couple of years before I moved to Canada and practiced in Canada. My area of practice and my area of interest is mental health. And I fall in love with this particular area. And even though there's been a little bit of a learning curve for me to move and to adapt my practice into Canada, I realized actually practice in Canada is a wonderful place and give me lots of good opportunities to learn new things as well. I got to admit, when I walked through the journey of becoming an OT in Canada, it was a while ago, so my experience is not as fresh as what Felicity kind of shared with you just now. However, I do experience quite a bit of challenges and also the difficulties, and I can understand the challenges that you are facing with. My role in this program is to support the learning. I'm also the associate of education of the OSOT department, and one of my duties is to oversee many programs, including the PIOT. And it has been a pleasure working together with Felicity and many of the other team members in delivering and launching this program. Wonderful seeing you all today. So we want to give you a quick overview as to what this PIOT is all about. We were very fortunate that we received funding from the Provincial Ministry of the Health in British Columbia, Canada, to develop the program for this Internationally Educated Occupational Therapists, or what we call the PIOT, to support IEOTs, or in full name, which is the Internationally Educated OTs, in preparing for the competency assessment. Now, you likely would hear a lot of acronyms tonight. Bear with us, as you realize actually that's part of the characteristic of OT as well. So, again, repeating those acronyms, IEOT meaning like all of us being educated outside Canada and wanting to practice in OT. And the program that we're offering is called PIOT. And should you forget about this acronym called PIOT, think about Michael Lee being someone who loved eating pie. And that's why we call it as a PIOT. But in full name, this actually means the program for international educated OTs. The aim of this program is to support internationally educated occupational therapists in understanding and demonstrating the competencies required for occupational therapy practice in Canada, and also to support them to pass the final phase of the C's, which is the equivalent process. And then you are expected to go through this competency assessment, which we also abbreviated as a CA. Now, the PIOT is an online 12 weeks program, which is completely online. That means actually you can learn it anywhere else around the world, as long as you have internet access. It includes online learning modules, which contain pre-recorded videos and self-directed learning materials, reflective assignments, and interactive discussion forums. And during this 12 weeks, the program hosts 7 live tutorial sessions and also 2 office-hour sessions, individual and group. A key focus of the program is helping participants to develop individual case scenario, becoming familiar with the Canadian OT theory and language, understanding what occupational therapy practice looks like in Canada, and also build a supportive relationship amongst their peers. The program ends with a final mock interview for participants to practice what they have learned and to prepare them for the CA exam. As you can see in this slide, all the program content was developed in collaboration with our senior faculty members from the Department of Occupational Science and Occupational Therapy at UBC in here, using the academic materials that we adapted from the Master of Occupational Therapy program. As you can imagine, our MOT program is a 2-year program, but we try to condense everything as we believe actually you have lots of experience and knowledge already. So we want to focus in particular some of the Canadian context as well. This is an important part of the program, as from the background research and from understanding of the C's process, IEOTs require the same skills and knowledge that the Canadian trained OT to show in the competencies. The program context was initially structured around the Canadian Occupational Therapy Competency Document, and once key topic was developed, the context was remapped to the competencies to ensure the alignment with the ACCTRO requirements. The live tutorial are all facilitated by our experienced clinical faculty members who are IEOTs and are familiar with the C's process. They're also familiar with the OT practice in Canada and can guide participants in applying concepts in ways that are relevant for their competency assessments. We mentioned briefly already earlier, this program runs over a 12-week period. Participants complete a core module and attend live tutorial across 11 weeks, which are broken into 3 blocks, and we'll explain those 3 blocks a little bit later on. In the final 2 weeks, prior to the last tutorial, each participant is scheduled for a one-on-one mock interview, timed according to the individual's C's timeline. If a participant is unsuccessful in the first attempt at the competency assessment, they remain in the program and will receive continued support from us. The PIOT team will meet with them to create a personalized plan in preparation for the final attempt. The target participants for this program is that they need to be eligible to seek the competency assessment and to meet the English proficiency requirements set out by the ACTRO, or what we call the Association of the Canadian Occupational Therapy Regulatory Organizations. Participants will have completed the program when they have passed the competency assessment. So at that point, we want to congratulate you. Or when they have completed 2 attempts and are no longer eligible to receive the competency assessments. As previously mentioned, the PIOT is broken up into 3 blocks. Block 1 introduces participants to the foundation of OT practice in Canada. It covers the Canadian healthcare context, core OT theories and framework used in Canada, and also key professional expectation, helping participants to understand how OT is practiced and conceptualized within the Canadian system. Block 2 focuses on applying the Canadian OT concepts mostly commonly used in Canada through a self-reflection and social awareness. Participants learn to develop case scenario to answer competency-based questions, explore justice, equity, diversity, and inclusivity principles, and deepen their understanding of Indigenous, social, and historical contexts that shape and impact on OT practice in Canada. For the Block 3, it builds on earlier learning by emphasizing practical applications in the current OT practice. It covers equity-oriented practice, technology as an environmental factors, and essential workplace skills, including management and leadership, and preparing participants for the real-world practice in Canada.
So we just wanted to share some successes that we've had with the program so far. So to date, we have completed 4 cohorts or groups of participants who've joined us, and we are currently on our 5th cohort or group. So we've seen 37 participants go through the program, and great news for us, majority, so 83% of participants have successfully completed the program and then have gone on to pass the competency assessment. So this has demonstrated strong alignment between program content and the assessment requirements. Unfortunately, a small number of participants did not pass on their first attempt, but they do remain connected with the program. As we mentioned, we can continue to support them as they prepare for their second attempt. So this ongoing engagement reflects our commitment to providing sustained guidance beyond the initial completion of the program, and learners have appreciated how much the PIOT has been supporting them through their first attempt, and then for those small number to their second attempt. So we've also received some very positive feedback from our participants so far. As you can see from this quote on the screen, one participant shared, throughout the PIOT, my learning was supported by a combination of structured guidance from supervisors and consistent feedback, the safe and collaborative environment created by my supervisor and peers, along with flexibility and encouragement, allowed me to practice new skills while feeling supported. So all these elements have helped to contribute to a positive learning experience for participants as they're preparing for the competency assessment. And another participant shared that these are the things that supported me in PIOT: clear objectives, hands-on practice, constructive feedback, collaboration, accessible resources, a supportive environment, and opportunities for reflection. So we're delighted with those pieces of feedback that we've gotten so far from participants, and we hope that we'll continue those successes with our current group and future groups to come over the year. So just a little bit more information about applying to the PIOT. So we are currently in our January cohort, and we have another group or cohort starting in February. So the program costs $2,500 for the upcoming February cohort. However, if you do plan to practice in British Columbia here in Canada, there is a bursary program run through Health Match BC. So this is a great resource if you plan to practice in in British Columbia as an OT, as they'll help you with the financial side of the Cs, including covering the cost of our program for that February group. So to access that bursary program, I suggest visiting their website. You can scan that QR code, or you can find their website at alliedhealthjobsbc.ca. So we plan to run at least 3 cohorts per year with up to 12 participants per cohort. We try to keep the numbers small just to make sure that we can do the one-on-one work with people and not overloading our facilitators, and making sure everyone has the opportunity to have that one-to-one time. We expect participants to engage in 3 to 6 hours of asynchronous work. So that's work that they would do by themselves per week. So whether that's watching videos or doing readings or doing assignments, and they're done at participants' own pace. And then we expect all participants to attend 7 3-hour live tutorials held throughout the program. So these are tutorials where people can come, they'll meet with the facilitators and start applying what they've learned from the previous modules to case studies. And then eventually, hopefully, they will start presenting their own case scenarios from their previous OT experience in their home country. And then we also offer some live office hours for participants to engage in addition to the tutorials. So these are optional. If you want to meet with facilitators one-on-one and ask any questions, we have those office hours. And then we also do a group office hour for people to come together and learn from each other as well. Obviously, if people are not able to meet during those office hours, we try to accommodate as much as possible and be flexible meeting with participants. So how do you apply to the program? So if you're interested in joining our program, you can apply through our online form available on our webpage. So once we've received your application, you'll be contacted by our program coordinator at the earliest 1 month prior to the cohort starts. But obviously we're currently have applications open for our February group. So we're accepting applications until February 5th. So then once you do apply and you are eligible to join us, you will meet with our program coordinator just for an informal interview that will last approximately 20 to 30 minutes. So this is really just an opportunity to give people more information about the program, answer any questions they may have, and get to know them a little bit better and their learning needs. And then also just to make sure that the PIOT is actually a good fit for them. So making sure, you know, that we would meet their expectations. And then once they've completed the interview, our program coordinator provides information about registration. So this will just be a registration link provided, and we do try to prioritize those who are in phase 3 of the C's process, so coming up to scheduling their competency assessment or coming to the end of their C's deadline. So those who are maybe not as far along in the C's process in phase 2, we do leave any other spots as a first come, first serve basis. So if you're unable to join us for, say, the cohort that you wanted, the upcoming cohort, we can add you to the waitlist and then prioritize you for the next group. And then registration usually opens the week before the program starts, but we communicate all that through email. All right. And so that's the end of our very, very brief presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Now we'll have a bit of a Q&A session now, but you can always contact us as well via pi.ot@ubc.ca or visit our website. You can scan that QR code, or you can just type us into Google and we are the first one that comes up in Google. So I might